YKY Mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay Classic. We got a great one today. We're going to do a special film, and we got a special guest, but I'm going to throw it to Sean, who's going to introduce the show. Go ahead, Sean.
Hi. Today we have a very special guest. The film is going to be Donnie Brasco, which was a true story about a undercover agent with the New York mafia. And to give a special insight into this film, we have a former mob associate who wore a wire against the mob, Mr. Kenji Gallo. And I heard him on a previous podcast. He is a friend of mine. Hopefully by the end, he'll be a friend of all of ours. But I heard him on a previous podcast discussing that he felt Donnie Brasco was the most accurate film about life in the mob as he experienced it. So I thought it'd be great to invite him here to discuss the film. And also he's a filmmaker as well. And he has strong opinions about movies about the mob and what's real and what isn't and what people take away from him. And so I'm looking forward to having a good time. And should I give you a little bio right now?
Well, say hi, Kenji. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Glad you could make it. Yeah. Why don't you give us a quick little bio on Kenji, and then we'll dive into the trailer, talk about the film. But I have a feeling that we're going to want to meander off the film a little bit and get some other inside information.
I think this film
if that's okay.
Jumping off point.
Okay.
To discuss mob films and how, mob life and how it's revealed in mob films and accurately or inaccurate. Well, Kenji is from California. He's from Orange County, Irvine, California. And he was a active youth. He was sent to military school, which unfortunately gave him some discipline and weaponry and self-discipline. And when he got out, his father wanted him to be more responsible and made him work at a restaurant. Unfortunately for Dad, the restaurant was one of the major centers of cocaine trafficking in Orange County back in the early days of the cocaine cowboys. And at 15, I believe Kenji was started in the cocaine business. And after a while, he left. I believe, Kenji, you said it was because the price of cocaine was dropping and the risk was rising. You got into the film business, into the pornographic business. And that is often controlled by the mafia. And that's how you got to meet people in the mafia. And you started working with the Los Angeles family, where you met a guy, Jimmy Kachi, who was sort of the street boss, who, like Lefty in this film, took you under his wing and taught you the old school mafia way. And after a while, you decided to where you had a meeting with the FBI, and you decided to wear a wire, and they didn't want you to go against your California associates. They wanted you to go to New York, and you ended up going to New York and becoming involved with the, I believe it's the Colombo family, and Teddy Persico, who was like a skipper, or I believe, and you wore a wire against those guys for a number of years, and you eventually became a witness and was involved in some trials that really broke that group up. Does that pretty much sum up your life in the mob?
That pretty much sums it up. Yeah. A few things in there. But yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the show. No,
and we met because you saw one of my movies, The Encounter Paradise Lost, and you liked it, and you found my email and sent me a fan letter. And since then we've been hanging out at a distance.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's show the trailer, and then we'll dive in.
When I introduce you, I'm gonna say, this is a friend of mine. That means you're connected, guy. Now, if I said instead, this is a friend of ours, that would mean you were made, guy. A capiche?
When Lefty brought Donnie into his world,
Who's this guy? This is Donnie, a friend of mine.
he took a risk on a kid he hardly knew.
I'm gonna have to school you, my friend.
School me in what?
Wise guy never carries his money in a wallet, see? Always in a roll. Bina on the outside.
He gave him his trust.
You gotta get rid of that mustache and get yourself a pair of pants. Dress just like me.
He loved him like a son.
Nobody can touch you because I represent you. Keep your nose clean, follow the rules, be a good earner, and maybe one day when they open the books, you become a wise guy. I die with you, Donnie.
But he never knew the truth.
There's a war going on in that mafia family, and that is where Joe is undercover.
Donnie, come here.
I want to know where my husband is.
We don't know.
You're gonna freeze up? No. A lot of guys freeze up.
He said it was going to be 3 months. It's going on 3 years.
Who he's with and who he's close to, they're all the top dogs now. He's right in the line of fire.
There was a rat in Florida, Donnie.
You know what to do when you find that rat, right, left?
Could be I found him already. In our thing, you get sent for, you go in alive, you come out dead, and it's your best friend that does it.
We have got to pull him out. You think I'm a rat?
How many times I have you into my own house? If you're a rat, then I'm the biggest mutt in the history of the mafia.
If I come out, Lefty dies. They're gonna kill him. Because he vouched for me. Because he stood up for me. That's the same thing as if I put a bullet in his head myself, do you understand?
Who am I? I'm a spoke on a wheel, and so are you. Hey, Don.
Yeah.
Let's take a walk. I'm your best friend.
So let's start off with Kenji. You hadn't had a chance to talk. Tell us what you liked. I like this film. You know, this film is going to be a departure to mob films in general. But tell us what you really liked about this movie.
Well, I really like Donnie Brasco, one, because it was based on a true story and they stuck really close to the actual story. When they first heard that Johnny Depp was going to play Agent Pistone, AKA Donnie Brasco, I was kind of skeptical, thinking, yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to portray this and pull this off, but he actually did. And Al Pacino was an excellent lefty. I mean, I was around those actual people, some of the same people that are in the movie, that are portrayed in the movie. And, you know, I lived in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. This is like more downtown Brooklyn towards where Dumbo is now. But I knew those people from that crew. I went to their shape up. And it really portrays the whole life, the whole grind, like when they're breaking open parking meters and everything. This is how it is. Like if there's nothing big going on, then you're taking small. And it's everyday grind. Like when he gets the bad ring and then Donnie says it's a fugazi. I mean, this is normal every day. And it just showed him how it was. And they weren't all wearing suits and everything. It was, that's very much how they dressed at that period of time, which is in the late 70s, early 80s. And with me, I was into the 2000s up to 2005. And the rest of the Hollywood movies keep portraying these guys wearing suits and everything. Come on, man, who does that? I mean, back in the 70s, everybody wore suits. I used to wear a suit to get an airplane. You know, my dad, when everyone wore one to go to work. Those days are long gone. So why wouldn't we change? And I also really liked the whole thing with Johnny Depp being undercover. Even though I was an FBI agent, I did spend 8 years wearing a wire. And you get to like some people and dislike other people, and you have so many rules and so many things you can and cannot do. And it's hard to like form relationships because you know that you're just going to betray these people. So I completely understood his character. And then I understand the lefty character 100% because there's a million guys that are just like him.
Yeah, you know, it's the flip flop in between when he's dealing with the FBI, who's telling him you got to shave your mustache, and the mob lefty saying you got to shave your mustache. You can't walk around looking like that. It's just such an interesting mix of lives. And you mentioned the banging on the parking meters. I mean, all the little scams and stuff that were going on. Is that all? That's all realistic, huh? You guys would try to figure out any way to make money for whoever you have to pay it to or pay it up to or whatever?
To make it for yourself. Everything is hands-on, nothing too small. I actually knew a guy who had keys to parking meters, and they would go and take so much out of every one. But I mean, they made thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars doing this. But you know, it all adds up. You just get one little scam and two little scams, and you just do it. And you know, when you don't have anything big going, you just take what you can. What it is like he says, we're like spokes in a wheel. But I used to tell everyone we're like little streams that flow into one mighty river. That's the way it is.
And everybody's constantly kicking up?
You know, it's kind of like everybody, American taxpayer. We all try to pay as little as possible, but still pay enough so we don't get audited. Because in this case, an audit is, you know, not going to be good.
Yeah, I, you know, not knowing anything, this movie definitely felt legit. You know, obviously you read stuff after you see the film and you realize it is pretty legit. And Al Pacino's portrayal of Lefty was one of the most realistic things in the show, according to everybody. But anyway,
yeah. I mean, it's really legit. And up until, like I said, I was in there until 2005. So it's been some time now, 15 years, but that is accurate portrayal, and it's just the most realistic out of all of those films.
Now, Kenji, you had a relationship similar to that between like Johnny Depp and Pacino with a mobster in Los Angeles, Jimmy Cacci, who was like an old school guy. What was that like being, because you were like you were not a mafia guy. You had your own thing going and you were sort of brought in. So what was that like, you know, learning the rules with the guy? Because in your book, and I should mention your book, Break Shot, you know, everyone should definitely pick it up. But what was it like entering that world and having like a mentor like that?
Well, just like the movie, Jimmy said, got to shave. You have to be clean shaven, cut my hair, got to be neat. And we used to have to wear a collared shirt and things like that. If we went to a dinner or something, we'd have to wear a jacket. He was real particular about those kind of things. You could never cuss in front of a woman. And Jimmy was a captain or a street boss, a capo in the family. And he was an old school guy from New York. He was born in Buffalo. You know, he knew all the bosses. He knew the Buffalino and all the bosses of Buffalo, Tederos, and knew Russell Buffalino and knew all the New York bosses too, because he'd been locked up in Attica for 8 years. So he was really, really well known. And he used to just tell me all the rules and everything all the time, and then tell me about the life.
Yeah, and you seem to have, you know, in your book, you don't have a lot of respect for the mafia people, but it seemed like you did actually have some respect for him.
Yeah, I really liked Jimmy. I respected him, and he was different. He wasn't like the rest of them. He would never have anything to do with drugs or any of that kind of stuff. He's not like the younger guys with no respect. He respected the guy. He lived by the code. I mean, he'd spent most of his life in prison, in and out. And even before he died, when he was, close to his death, after I flipped, I talked to him on the phone. And he even told me, he said, you know, this life wasn't always cracked up to be. And I believe that he had some regrets about it. He told me a couple times when I was involved in it that it's not what you think. So, yeah, he was different.
One question I have to you is, in the film Donnie Brasco, it seems like there was two things going on. The mafia guys, they're high into the Catholic Church and their faith. And then, you know, the other side of that, where they're living this, you know, murderous kind of dog-eat-dog world, which you attest to in your book. But you come to the point, did you almost feel like you were a Judas when you have to turn these guys in, who are your friends, sort of fake friends or whatever, you know, the thing where you're ratting on them and for the FBI. So did you feel guilty in any way that what you were doing, like torn between, you know, two friendships or?
Yes, I did a lot. And a lot of people I didn't even want to go around, you know, that the FBI didn't mention them. I definitely didn't seek them out. And some guys I really, really liked. I mean, like, honestly, I liked Teddy Persico. He was out of all those guys, he was a personable guy, Teddy Persico Jr. He was better than most. And there's a couple other guys I liked in New York, and some other guys I liked in New England and Providence. And I felt bad, and I used to go over there, a lot of their houses. I used to go there on Sunday sauce, and go hang out. I went to their weddings. I went to christenings. I went to birthday parties. And just to know that you're going to betray them, that's part of like what goes on. That's what it takes a long time afterwards to decompress from all that. And it's like, it's really hard. And you start to think like, am I really doing the right thing? But then you see, you know, just when I thought like, I'm not doing it, then you see some of the really bad stuff that some of these guys do. And then you think, okay, now I'm on the right track. But it's really, it got to be really hard. And that's why eventually I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it. It's too long.
Now in the movie, Donnie Brasco was like the end when the light comes shining in, you know, and they referenced the movie Shawshank Redemption. We just had a podcast on that one last week. And it referenced, you know, the one part when he comes out of the prison, he's got his hands up like this, you know, Wojo, the one that we were commenting, the one scene where he's holding his hands up like this and the lightning strikes. And then at the point where Donnie Brasco, you know, he's about ready to get killed or something from Al Pacino, well, his character, and the FBI shows up with the big lights. Did you have a moment of that sort when you were just about at the end of your time?
I had a moment, but it wasn't exactly like that. And it wasn't what I thought at the time, I'll tell you. So Teddy Persco had just been out of prison for a couple weeks, and he had a beef with two guys, and the beef went back to like when they had this Colombo Civil War, and so he was using me as an excuse. And so we went to his mom's house, and he got his brothers, and then we got guns, and we were going to this hit on 4th Avenue in the middle of Brooklyn in the daytime, and we got into cars, and his brothers didn't have gloves, so they're wearing socks, and they got in two different cars, and we're headed down there. And he's like, why are you being so quiet? Well, I was being so quiet because everything was being recorded. Also, I'm trying to think in my mind, how am I going to get out of this? Because one of the most important things of the FBI is I can never commit any violence or be involved in any violence. And so I'm like, I can't get away from them. They're watching me. I can't call anybody. You know, I can't text. There's nothing I can do. And I'm in this car. I'm heading to a situation that there could possibly be gunshots. I don't have a gun. And they're notoriously bad shots. Like people get wounded. Even in the Donnie Brasco, just to cut for a second, when they kill the three captains in the house, a guy got shot during that in real life, and he's paralyzed. So this is like, they're notoriously bad like that. So I'm in this truck with Teddy and Eddie, and I'm headed to Brooklyn to this part, and I'm being real quiet. When we come over this little hill, I see a fire engine, a huge hook and ladder, a paramedics, an ambulance, and an NYPD car at a restaurant right next door, right in front of the restaurant where we were going. And I thought in my mind, wow, the FBI really is listening to me. Like they found out. and so they're rolling out a guy who had a heart attack in the restaurant. And Teddy's like, it's off. I'm just gonna go talk to the people, you know. Later on, and Sean knows about this, like I told him, it's like, you know, it wasn't the FBI, it was nobody, it would seem to be a coincidence, but to me, it was like God's intervention to me. And it was a turning point in my life. And when you look back at things, this was one of them for me.
Yeah. So was this was a test for you in a sense too? Was it with the Persicos?
Yeah.
And then Donnie Brasco, which I never noticed. I've seen this film a number of times, but what I didn't get until I watched it this time is that Al Pacino was backwards. He had the gun. His gun was on the Johnny Depp character. Johnny Depp had to kill this guy, or he was going to be killed. Is that the interpretation everyone has of that scene?
Sure. Yeah, I would say that he was definitely pointed at him. He was going to do it. Just like with me, they asked me, because I was friends with the guy, and they said, you had a problem with us going after Craig? And I said, no. And I sat there in the car and went with him. Even though I had been out to movies with this guy, eaten with this guy, the guy had been to my house, I was in the car with him to go get him.
Well, that's a Donnie Brasco. That's a whole 1 second they're your friend. Next second he's shooting you in the back of the head. That's, you know, and that's sort of that last scene you're talking about where they're about to pop the guy in the boat. That's sort of what you were saying on the show that we just watched, the Flip show, that you were heading out. Same idea. Maybe it's what you were just talking about with the fire engine, but that could have been the last one for you too. You know. When you guys, this is a silly question, maybe. Do you guys talk about mob movies when you're in the mob? Are there movies that you kind of, hey, I'm like, Godfather characters, or maybe The Sopranos was out back then? The Sopranos came out in 1999, so that's right in your, when you were doing the stuff in 2005, right?
Yeah, they talk about them. They talked about them all the time. They talked about other books. The Sopranos, we knew guys that were in that. I knew more than, there's a lot of characters from the street in those. But yeah, we talked about them. So
did people generally like the mob movies in the mob?
Some did it. I mean, a lot of these people are still alive that they portray in all these, except for the, Mario Puzo's was like, more of a fiction, but they would talk about them. Some they liked, some they didn't. They just like, action movies too. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Did they like the movie Goodfellas? Would you say people talked about that movie?
Yeah. Goodfellas they liked. I mean, Goodfellas was a good portrayal of, the early, late 50s, early 60s and 70s movies. Yeah.
Kenji, I wanted to ask you, because you said you wore a wire for 8 years. I didn't realize it was that long. And in this movie, Depp, the whole time he's worried about getting caught, right? And that's on his mind all the time because the mob is looking out for rats. You did this for 8 years, and based on the interviews I saw, forgetting about the dual loyalty for a second, but the fact that you kind of embraced what you were doing and even wanted to expand what you were doing to help out the FBI. So I didn't get the impression that you were worried every second that you were going to get caught. You felt like you weren't going to get caught and you could do even more. Am I misreading that?
No, actually, there's like no chance. When Donnie Brasco or Agent Pisto was under, they were using Niagara recorders, which if you did film, Niagara is a big recorder, reel to reel. And they were using those, and they were even smaller. Then later on, they went to microcassette, which only lasts, even on slow plays, like 120 to 60 minutes on one side. You have to flip it. And that when they would actually have a wire, I never had a wire. I had a MP3 player, actually like a little small, and that one that was in my watch, and it had a very small, tiny button that you did, unless you knew where it was, you had to use a paper clip, and you press it, and all you do is still it click. And there is no off switch. Once it's on, it runs for 9 hours, 13 hours for the belt buckle. Wow. And it's the same thing. I had to go through like a lot of stuff. So I couldn't have change in my pocket. I couldn't move my hands around a lot of it. My watch was on, I put on top of the table and let it sit there. And, when they outlawed smoking inside restaurants, they made it easy because we'd go outside, they'd smoke and talk, and then I could just sit there and it'd be right at voice level. And I never, ever even worried, like even recording phone calls, there's a special system that was on my phone. I can't go into detail, but I would hit some buttons and it would record all the calls.
Oh, wow. So you felt pretty confident that you weren't going to get caught. I mean, where in this movie, you felt like, he's every minute he's worrying about it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. In the movie, when he like goes into the Japanese restaurant, he has that thing in his boot. That was a Niagara recorder, which was, huge.
Yeah, that's not a wire. That's just a tape recorder.
Just a tape recorder. Yeah.
But he had to wire up his didn't he?
Yeah, he had wire up his cross all the way out.
Right.
Oh.
So Kenji, you've said that Donnie Brasco is the most realistic movie, the one that kind of follows what would happen in the mob or the mafia. So what are some of the other things that other movies made about the mafia or the mob do that's just Hollywood stuff? That's like not, you mentioned the fact that in this one, people wear suits and then they make people wear suits in more modern ones. And that's not as much done anymore. So what other kind of things is just Hollywood stuff?
Well, if you notice, even in Donnie Brasco, they never really wore suits. They wore, like a nice jacket or something, and that's it.
Right.
But also, if you notice, they also didn't carry guns. You didn't see any machine guns or anything unless they were going to do work, which is like go rob something, go kill somebody. Especially in New York, because they used to have the Sullivan laws where they would get people for 10 years and the feds would hit you for 10 years for a felon with a gun. They don't carry it. And in fact, if you bring one into a social club, it's a no-no. So they would never carry guns, and you don't bring it to the table, and it's not like that. And you don't just flash one around. And the other things is you always see guys like getting slapped by the boss and the boss yelling at somebody. Okay, you're dealing with a whole bunch of outlaws, criminals. All of them capable meaning they can kill you. And you're not going to slap one, and it's not going to go. You can get away with it right then, but that's the guy that's going to shoot you in the back. He's going to be the first guy. Believe me, when you deal with these people, you have to give somebody an out. Like the Chinese and the Japanese, they always say, like, in their criminal, you have to let them save face. You have to give them an out. You can never ever directly challenge somebody, or else you will end up dead. So that's where a lot of these other things go when the boss is like yelling at me, like, who's going to respect somebody like that? What kind of leader does that? This is it's more like a military, like, where you have a military rank. You have underneath the associates, you have all these people in the crew. Then you have the main guy who has a crew, and then each one of the main guys have crews who answer to a captain who they're in his crew, which is usually a group of 10. So it goes all the way up like this.
Now, that was a big moment in Donnie Brasco when Sonny Black, Mike Madsen slaps his associate, punches him in the face, and like the entire room grows silent.
Correct.
Like that just was like he had crossed the line. It's like, wow, something just happened here.
And if you notice, they killed that guy later on.
That's Bruno Kirby. He was
Bruno Kirby.
He did talk a lot.
They killed him. He already had it in his mind. That was pretty much when his fate was sealed, probably in real life. In
real life, just because he had slapped him, it meant he would have to kill him eventually.
Eventually, that's you're pretty much on your last. Like, it's the number one rule in the mob is you can't lift your hands to a made guy, and two made guys. You're not supposed to talk with your hands like Italians like to talk with their hands. If you're talking to people, you're not supposed to be like this because they might take it as an offense. So you try to like be real subtle and polite.
I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about there.
Yeah, they don't like that. Like, they don't want you to do that.
I never heard that before.
Well, one of my favorite scenes in that film is when the two sound techs were asking him about the word "forget about it," and Johnny Depp describes how that word's used 4 different ways, right? Like, hey, forget about it. Raquel Welch, she's the best. Forget about it. The Cadillac is better. Whatever. And that's that was a fascinating look inside there.
Well, and the script was based on the actual transcripts from the recordings that they made, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that came right from Pistone and his group there. So I thought that was really interesting. I also think back to the movie. I think this was Johnny Depp, one of his best performances in any movie. And Al Pacino is always good, but there was something about him, like the kind of sad sack mob guy he played, a low-level guy. The way he played it was just brilliant. Now,
you got in your head that's Michael Corleone, right? You can't take that.
I didn't.
No, I'm just saying that's how good he is, right? Because that is such an iconic role.
Yeah.
That to him, and he embraced the lefty. That was Lefty.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. In actuality, Lefty did not get killed.
No, he died.
No, it's Sonny Black got killed.
Yeah, Sonny Black got killed. Lefty did not. In the movie, they implied that Lefty did get killed.
Correct.
True, but he did.
Sonny Black is the one that gave his car to his girlfriend and put his jewelry away and everything else. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They found him later with his hands cut off.
That's right. Little creative license. Yeah.
Drew, jump in here.
Well, we're talking about what's real versus what you see in the movies, which I think is, there's so many movies about the world of crime and organized crime and all that kind of stuff. But I'm more interested in asking you, you watch porn and then you marry a porn star. What is it like crossing that line? Is that disappointing? Is that upsetting?
You're talking about a man's wife.
Well, hold on. I met Tabitha Stevens in New York, and she seemed like a very nice person and everything.
No
but
way.
I understand I know some people who have been peripherally involved in the business, and it doesn't seem like a great place for relationships. So it sounds like you got into porn young and you had some success with it. So it's like you have professional lines that you would cross and wouldn't cross in the mafia. Do you think that was a line that you crossed in that industry, or how did that work out?
No, it didn't work out good. I'm still friends with her, but it was just at that time period where my mind was thinking. I figured that I would be dead or in prison for the rest of my life at age 30 anyway. So what was the difference?
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I had really no hope back then in life. I actually lived every day to the fullest, hedonistically, basically.
That would do it.
Kenji, I want to tell a story from your book that I think is kind of illuminating to this point, is how you had this high school sweetheart who was like a really straight girl. And obviously you took a different route, and you knew you couldn't stay with her. And you were talking about after you were married to Tabitha Stevens, you went to a movie and your old high school girlfriend was there. And you said it was like a really like emotional moment for you, because she looked at you and it wasn't like she was impressed that you were like married to a porn star and you were the person you were, and how that was sort of like a real like eye opener for you at that time.
Yeah, we went to go see that movie with John Favreau, where they were the dancing movie with Vince Vaughn. I can't remember it now. Anyway, they were in LA, but yeah, we walked out. When we were in the theater, I actually saw her, I thought. And then later on, they came down stairs at the same time, and she just looked at me kind of like in disgust. And it just, made my legs weak, and that was the end of that.
Did you even talk? Did you acknowledge each other?
She said hello, and that's it.
Wow.
That's Swingers was the movie Swingers.
Swingers. That was it. Yeah.
Oh, your money, baby. Your money.
Your money.
Okay, so the thing about the flipping, okay, because the aren't you drilled in your head that you don't flip on your friends? And is it literally you're just trying to stay out of jail? You don't want to go to jail for the rest of your life? Because aren't you told from the minute you're in that situation that you can't flip on your friends? And how does that? Because Henry Hill,
they had you on RICO, didn't they?
No. So it's drilled in your head from when you're really young in this business all the time. And I had taken it so many times, every time, and I had to go and start over every single time, because it's not like in the movies where they portray what everyone takes care of you when you're gone. You're gone, out of sight, out of mind. That's it. Money stream dries up, everything. And what happened is we call it the life or the grind. And I had been doing this, and I had reached the end where I just didn't believe. I used to be a true believer in this. I really thought that this is like what I wanted to do and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I used to think in my head at the end of this, it got way too long. I'm getting older. I don't want to do this anymore. How am I going to get out? And I kept thinking of a way, like, there's always those movies about the guy's going to get one last score. It never happens in real life because it's too easy to go back to the well to get the stuff. And life is hard. So I kept thinking of like, how am I going to do something? And again, this is another instance, like when I talked to Sean, it's God's strings that are pulling. So I kept thinking about this, and what I was traveling, and I happened to be in New England. I was in Providence, and I got a call from somebody, and they told me that FBI agents had just come to their house and left a card for me. And I asked them, why would they come to your house instead of going to my business? Or they know how to get hold of me, my lawyer. And then, so I go, give me the name. And I never heard of the guy. So I called the main office in Los Angeles, and I asked for him just to make sure he's a real guy. And they put me through to him. And he said, hey, we just want to talk to you. And where are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm out of town. And I was going from Providence to Canada, and I was going to be back. So I'll be back in 3 weeks. And I said, I'll be back in 3 weeks if you want to talk. And he said, sure. And, but make sure you get a hold of me. So 3 weeks came, and I called them, and they told me to meet at this deli, the Kaplan's in Orange County, Costa Mesa. And I figured that I was getting locked up again, because I just don't understand like why else they would want to talk to me. So I did much like Lefty did. I left all my money except for $20. Left wore no watch, brought no phone, wore two pairs of socks, a pair of sweats, a hoodie, and it's like real warm stuff. And I got to the deli, and these two agents were waiting outside. They asked me if I had any weapons on me. They searched me, and then they said, don't get freaked out when you go in. There's a lot of agents in there. but you're not getting arrested. And I said, okay. So I went to the inside there with them. So the two guys who were behind me, and we walked into this private dining room thing, and there was 8 other agents in there. And I went, and they were like, dude, relax, you're not going to get arrested. And they sat down and they told me, or they sat me down and they said, look, you know, we watched you. I had a little case against me right then, not really a big deal. Just another one that would have just been nothing. And they said, we want you to cooperate. And I said, no, not interested. And they're like, well, hear us out. And then I said, I don't want to rat on my friends. They said, we don't even care about your friends in LA. And I said, well, I'm not really interested in this. And they're like, look, you're a smart guy, man. We watch you. You could have done a lot of stuff. And I go, well, what do I get out of this? And they're like, the only thing that we can promise you out of this is a fresh start. And right there, that clicked with me because that's what I wanted. And I said, a fresh start. And they said, yeah, it'd be just like you had life over again. And I go, well, how long would I have to do this? And they said, 6 months to a year top. Yeah. And so I said, I'm in. Right there. No, wow. And they're like, you don't want to think about it? And I go, nope, because my mind, that is what I wanted. This is what I hoped for before. And I said, okay. And like I said, it lasted 8 years. I have to tell you, they kept all their promises. And I know the FBI is getting a bad rap lately. That might be the upper management, but they did everything for me that they said they were going to do. They went above and beyond. They kept me safe. And they really helped me out. And they changed my life. So, and all the guys that helped me were really professional and really good at what they did. And I owe them everything for the change in my life, to be honest.
But why? I mean, if they said 6 months to a year and it ended up 8 years, was that because you were giving them so much good information?
Yeah.
And you had no problem with doing it for this long?
Well, see, because then it gets into the whole Johnny Depp thing, is I was still scared. I've never done anything else but this. So I'm still a criminal, playing a criminal. Right. I'm an informant playing a criminal, pretending to be a criminal, but I'm not. Right. And so I'm still in that world. And I kept thinking, what am I going to do when I'm done with this?
Right.
And I kept worrying about it. But then it got to be such a grind that I couldn't take it after that. 8 years is just too much. And I was thinking about, what am I going to do after this? I've never done anything. And this is my whole life. Where am I going to go? Who am I going to know? And so I just kept doing it. And what people don't know is before this was even over, I fled out on that case that I had over me before it was even over, because I didn't want to go. I had to keep going to court and prolonging it. And I just wanted to get it over with. So I'm just I'm going to plead guilty. I pled it out. Like my lawyer was my lawyer and everything else. So before I was even done.
So when it was done,
it sounds like,
sorry, go ahead, Drew. No, you go.
It sounds like, the idea that you wanted a fresh start, that was what was really appealing to you. And it sounds like, and I get this because I love it also. It sounds like mixed martial arts really was a big part of building a new Kenji, basically, and a new life and a more positive life. And you also sound like a guy that when you did something, you went in and you did it as hard as you could. So I'm not surprised to learn that you were, at a gym sparring with real fighters and all that kind of stuff. Can you talk a little bit about how that helped you? Because I can't help but see that, like you said, you got the new start and you are asking yourself, now what? And how did MMA help you with that?
Well, what I did is, right when I got out, I still had in my head that I wanted to make as much money as I could. Not really worried about how I did, except for legally. So I had a mortgage company, but in between that, I was doing mixed martial arts, MMA, which wasn't even a real sport at this point. I was just doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And
that's the best one. So that's a good choice.
Yeah. So I started to meet like a lot of the fighters, and then I would just, and I started to go to the gym all the time. And then one of the owners of it asked me if I would come open it up and teach some classes in the morning. And I said, sure. I'm like, whatever. And I started doing that. And then I just got more and more into that. And, I was in the mortgage business, and then I was a commodities broker and trader. And as the economy was collapsing, it gave me time though to work on the martial arts. And as I started doing that, more and more people started asking me to train them and train with them. And so I walked into a gym, I was in the gym with UFC fighters, like real guys, owned by Mark Munoz, Rain. And I worked with him, and from the minute they opened, I worked with real fighters, and then I started training regular people, everybody. And then I quit my other job, and I just started training people. And it really changed my life, because you have to work at something. You have to do something, and there's no faking it. Like, if you're going to say, I'm Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, you have to work at it.
Yes, you
and
do.
you have to, it takes a lot of time. I did 3 days, 2 days, forever. And it takes a lot of work, and you have a lot of failure, but you learn to just keep it overcoming. And that's what changed everything. And then again, I'm in this gym with Mark Munoz, who's a big Christian, who just shaped it. He used to, before all our practices, everything, he would pray afterwards. And I used to think, and then it just slowly, as you get more involved in life, you just start to change. And it just helped me. It gave me an outlet and something to do. And then where it wasn't all about money and doing stuff, it just started doing, it just kind of happened organically, where people just started asking me, hey, can you train me? And then they just gave me money.
And that got your aggression too, right? Because you said you were always an aggressive person, and mixed martial arts was a good outlet for it.
Yeah, that killed it all after that. Once you start doing jiu-jitsu and everything every day, that's the end of that. It just ended. True.
I don't mean to backtrack, but I want to backtrack.
Okay.
After the 8 years, so now it comes out and there were arrests made, whatever, based on the information you gave them. At that point, when it came out that you were the one, did you have to go into witness relocation? Did you have to hide for a while? What's the time frame after that?
So I relocated long before that. So in the book, I ended it with the ride with Teddy Persico when we're going to do that. But in real life, it went on, and then I got into a fight with one of the older guys. He accused me of a bunch of stuff, and he brought me to a diner, and he started yelling at me and accusing me of stuff. It was just him and I. And then he said that I had a smirk on my face, because I was thinking he's like accusing me of saying something, and I was thinking in my mind. I recorded it. I could actually play it back for you. And he's like, if you don't wipe that smirk off your face, I'm going to punch you in the face. And I said, if you punch me in the face, I'm going to knock you unconscious. And then he's like, you would do that? You'd raise your hand to me? And then I just got up and I started to walk out. He tried to pull me into his car, and I didn't go with him. And I got in my car, and then they took me out, and I disappeared. I went to Toronto, Canada, and I was gone. And they started to figure out then that I was an informant, but they couldn't prove it. So they were calling around looking for me. But I was like long gone. I was gone out of that. And it was like over a year. I was in protection for over 18 months after that. But before they even did anything, it was over a year.
And then how do you get into mortgage banking and
and commodities trading? What's your background?
I mean, do they send you to schools? The FBI sending you to school? How does that work?
No, they would have, but I just thought about it. I kept reading about stuff I might want to try. And so I got out and I met somebody that was in that. And then I opened up my own place. I got licensed as a California lender's license, so I can do mortgage. And then I saw the writing on the wall that was kind of real is going to implode. I just knew it. And so I sold out. And then at the gym where I was working, the owner was, the half owner of the gym was owner of a huge commodities place. And he saw that I wasn't doing anything. He asked me, hey, you're a good salesman. Do you want to do this? So I gave it a try, and I did it, and it was easy. So I did that. And I did that until my book came out.
You're such a hard working, everything you do, you dive in with both feet, whether it's criminal activity, legit activity, or what. Did you ever wonder, if I just, that path in the road, if I just went straight, I mean, is it frustrating? Do you think I could have been, I don't know. I hate to be.
I always think about that, but obviously I can't live in the past. Yeah. I think about like this, what if, but we all have that in our life.
Sure.
If I did that, I wouldn't be the same person I am today.
Exactly.
Who knows where I'd be?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people, so I think you seem to be very happy where you are with your life. And, I think all of us look at these opportunities we may have turned down. it's like I could have gone to California, to pursue the screenwriting, but then I would have never met my wife. So it's like,
and we'd have to give up this place that we live, and sometimes the value people have on what's valuable is not so valuable, and you could just really live like a rich man. And Kenji, looking at you and your peaceful way about you, you are a very wealthy, rich, spirited guy, and who knows what great things are going to be coming in the future for you.
But I want to be clear, Kenji. Cocaine at 13 is not inspirational. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you now. A lot of what you've done is inspirational.
You sort of. It's interesting though. Your line, because you're talking about the cocaine in the 13 was it in the 80s, and the other Johnny Depp film is Blow,
right?
About all the cocaine that was brought in through Miami and then to California. He went. I forget the guy he's playing. George Young.
Yeah, George Young.
Yeah. Is that the same time frame of you in L.A.?
Yeah. Same time frame. Yeah.
Yeah. So
same
you're
people.
crossing all these Hollywood films that are directly related to your life. It's pretty amazing. Sean, you got to write a script about that.
Well, that was my question. Is there a break shot? Is there a break shot movie in the future? I mean, your book came out in, I think 2016. So
yeah, it's 2010. It has been so it's been sold and optioned a number of times. Right now, it's optioned to the people who did Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah. So
nice.
We'll see where that goes.
Wow.
And isn't one of the reasons that it hasn't been made so far is because of your ethnicity? They keep wanting to make you not what you are.
But now, because I'm Asian. But now times have changed. So we're gonna see.
Now it's perfect timing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How realistic is the film Johnny Dangerously?
I thought you were going to ask Dick Tracy.
I mean, I keep thinking about that movie with Michael Keaton, with the DA.
What's the swear word he uses in that one all the time?
Ice hole.
You fought again, bastard.
You fucking ice hole. Yeah.
You ice hole. Yeah. Well, that's just so fascinating listening to you. It really is.
So what are your top, I just want to have to remember that we are a movie podcast. What are your 5 favorite gangster movies?
5.
Wow.
Oh, 5. Well,
how about the top 100?
Let's see. Obviously, I like this one. Obviously, Donnie Brasco is number 1. Number 2, one of my favorite shows is Thief with James Caan.
Oh, Thief. Oh, great movie.
I mean, just a great portrayal.
1974.
Yep. It's a great movie. Also, if you really look at another good one, would be James Caan as The Gambler, the real one. I mean, excellent. And then, I have to say Godfather because I would say part 1 and part 2, not 3. And then the last one would be, it would be. I don't even.
Not good. Goodfellas not in that group.
Oh yeah, Goodfellas would be in that group too. Yeah, I like that much better than Casino. If they would have used a different cast at Casino, I think Casino would have been better.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the Fratellis in the Goonies not a realistic portrayal.
but I do love the Goonies. Shuffle.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to ask you. Forget about mob movies. What's your top 3 movies of all time? Doesn't have to be mob movies. What movies do you like?
No
pressure.
I love like 3 Days of the Condor.
Wow, you and Ralph are gonna get along fine.
Yeah, I really really like that. I thought Robert Redford, and then like Robert Redford in either Butch and Sundance or Jeremiah Johnson too.
Oh,
we sort of
he plays the trapper.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be in The Godfather. Robert Redford.
Yeah, I know he was.
He was supposed to be Michael Corleone.
Oh, he's supposed to be Michael?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't see that.
And
I don't see that either.
Other ones I like Scarface. I thought it was a pretty good, back in the day film.
Sure.
And other than that, I just I watch movies now like Downton Abbey. Like those are the kind of things I like.
Downton Abbey.
It's a wonderful show, John. Come on. It's very absorbing.
I got to be honest. That's not one that I was expecting.
We ask every guest this question.
I was hoping for like Shrek or something like that.
We ask every guest the same question. How do you feel about The Counselor?
Oh, no, we do not ask every guest that question.
I try to, but
Have you seen
I told you, Kenji, we go off the rails every now and again. So that's one of them.
Don't bother with that one.
Yeah. How about Slapshot? Do you like?
Oh God, seriously?
Yeah.
Yes,
I did like that. I did like that one.
Who doesn't?
That was so horrible.
If you got a pulse, you'd like that movie.
What?
That's awesome.
Nothing.
Oh yeah, I'll watch it when I watch this.
Still on the pulse, John. Sorry.
So, I mean, ultimately what we're saying is Donnie Brasco is a pretty accurate portrayal of what goes on. And I'm fascinated by like I said, your line of all these kind of arcs you hit based on Hollywood films and the years that you were going through. Your thing is pretty interesting. And all the connections between the actors and what was going on and all. It's pretty fun. So
yeah,
it's been great.
Do they really say you're going to be sleeping with the fishes?
Not like that, but they say like, hey, you're going to be you'll be out there. We'll make you disappear. We'll disappear you. We're going to plant you. Yeah, those kind of things. Yeah.
How about I don't know. It just fell off a truck. How about that one?
Yeah, that one's a real one.
Kenji, I got a question for you. So in the old days, of gangsters, they used to kiss the boss, on the cheek. Did that still go on in your time with the mafia?
Early, but later on, they didn't want you to do that, especially outside, because like John Gotti and those guys that was all on film all the time.
Oh,
that's a European way of greeting, so they stopped that. They just like they stopped, like they didn't want you to wear like a sharkskin suit, no gold Rolex, no big gold chains with diamonds. Of course, the shaving thing was always the thing. No baseball hat. Yeah, so yeah, that was real.
Why no facial hair?
They just don't like it because you could like it's a disguise.
Oh.
What I always compared it to, and this is
Ralph.
something I saw the movie Donnie Brasco. What the point is that I was thinking when they kissed the boss, it was almost like a Judas kiss. You know what I mean?
You got Judas on the brain.
It was a betrayal, and that's they proclaimed them really. Their first communion was very important in that film, as is the Godfather, the wedding, the elaborate
the baptism,
wedding, the baptism, the very big Catholic, close to God kind of people that they say they are. They're Christians that they proclaim. A lot of the mafia is so far from the truth. How can they live with each other? And the betrayal is sort of like a
total lack of respect.
A little like the priesthood.
It's like a slap in the face,
Sorry,
like how Judas kissed Christ when he was gonna be going to the Sanhedrin. It's just.
Well, it was just Easter, so
No, the only time that they did that in the film is when Michael Corleone did that to Fredo. But in real life, it's just a European way. Just like all the Italians, a lot of Europeans did that. So.
Well, here's one stereotype, and you see it in the Godfather. And since you were into life, it seems like what they always do in the movies that are trying to portray the mobsters in I wouldn't say necessarily favorable light, but less negative light, the good mobsters as opposed to the bad mobsters, like in The Godfather, is that it seems like when they're at work, they'll kill people, they'll do this and that. But when they're at home, they love their wives and their kids and they're gentle and this and that. I just, as an observer of human beings, I just don't see that in the case. It seems to me that if you're like a really violent criminal, that violence is going to bleed over at
your family
and home. Did you find that the case? Because you've been there at birthday parties.
Yeah, it's just like real life. Good person, even in a bad situation, going to be good to their family. Bad person, but they're always lying anyway. They're deceitful because the women, the children don't know what they're doing. It's all a lie. It's all based on a lie. How can you have anything? The whole world is a lie. unlike the Sopranos, they don't tell them anything. They're not involved. They're not allowed to come. They're not brought around. Nothing to do with it. So it's just real life. Almost all the people have bad kids, drugs. If you take the time to raise your kids, you get good kids, and that's the same as that, basically.
One last thing about Donnie Brasco. Again, Donnie Brasco was a good reflection of good kids, bad kids, and all that, because Lefty had his son who was a heroin addict, and it affected what he had to do. The thing where they were giving money back and forth at Christmas, like they'd each come with just a card that had a bunch of cash in it. And Lefty would ultimately always take Johnny Depp's cash off him.
Yeah.
And go, I'll get this later because he's gambling or whatever. Is that how like true to life is that kind of handing cash back and forth?
We always gave envelopes out for everyone. We in my case, the captain would take it, and we take a big donation and we kick it up and buy someone a car or something, something big. And see, like, you want to give it because you want to be known like how much you gave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got to score points.
Well, unless you did the big Lufthansa heist and you don't want to go buy a car for your mother, especially a pink one.
That's right.
Not good.
Well, it's funny because talking about the race thing, the Italians that we know that are from Italy, that are in northern Italy, they hate the idea of the mafia. Hate
they're northern. My relatives are northern.
All those people are very, devout fathers, and they go to church, and they don't believe in any of that mafia stuff.
You guys know who John Walsh is, right? America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. Anytime someone bumps into someone that's Italian, John and I go through this all the time. He says, I was doing a show working in his office. We were renting from America's Most Wanted. John Walsh comes in one day. He's like 5'4", little guy. And he looks at me, he goes, hey, what's your name? I go, Ralph Quattrucci. He goes, Quattrucci, hey, you know anybody I'm like, come on, stop that. And that's a great running theme in The Sopranos, right? They do this whole thing where they're always protesting against anti-Italian discrimination. Meanwhile, these guys are killing people and, stealing all their money and insurance scams, all this stuff going on. And they're like worried about how they're looking in the, anyway. So I think that probably goes in every nationality has people that they kind of,
Well, when I went to Italy, I will say that I talked to somebody and I said, because I would be meeting the patriarchs of my family, and I asked them, should I call them Don? Like Don Pedro, Don Bruno? They're like, no.
Anything else before we let Kenji go? It's been a while. This is a long one. So.
It was good. That was really good. Very interesting,
awesome.
Kenji. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
you very much, Kenji.
It was good.
I guess if we rate Donnie Brasco, it's all Yippee-Ki-Yay.
Let's rate.
Forget about it.
That's it.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
All right. Good one.
Now that I know it's realistic, I like it even better.
Yeah. Thank you, Kenji. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck with more writing. Are you writing more books? Are you trying to?
Yes, I am. Right. Sean's already read the one I
read his next book.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I gave him notes.
Of course you did. I
incorporated it, but that's why I had him read it. So
very nice. Well, good luck with anything you do, Kenji.
Then I got a bulletproof vest with a fish in it.
Now we got to pixelate his face on the next podcast.
Right.
All right, Kenji. Thank you very much.
Kenji.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.